if you remember back, so many people go, oh, I want this car, and then all of a sudden they're seeing cars everywhere, and circumstances are coming up towards the car. Now some of them would get to a point where they fall flat on their face because the soul was going, the car ain't it. That's a lesser doubt, but still get the current going.
Okay.
So you see the car and
so there's a type of magical dynamic that kicks in at that level of phenomena.
That's just the law. It's just enacting the way the law works.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that the goal that's being pursued is economical in itself.
Yeah. So you get like two currents.
Yeah.
Right. You get the current of the ego.
Yes.
And you get the greater current of the soul.
Yes.
The current of the soul always wins out.
Yeah.
Because it's eternal. The ego's eventually going to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's got to be something to, if the person is spiritually connected to some degree, then the lesson's instant karma. You know, you kick the dog, you get bit by the dog. If you're not spiritually connected to your soul, you kick the dog, and it's the next lifetime the dog bites you, and you don't get the conscious connection between kicking and biting. You know, like what you see with all these bloody politicians, or that's a bit of karma getting around now. Is they do all this bloody terrible stuff, and it doesn't always get back at them in our lifetime. You don't see it, but then neither do they. They can't connect action and reaction, so their suffering is extended because they extend their own suffering, if that makes sense. Yeah?
But they're that disconnected from their spiritual nature.
Their soul.
Talking back to them.
Yeah. So what we're endeavouring to do here is to get that, if the higher ideal, which is the soul, the thing to, the step, you know, and get that connecting itself.
So that's what saves you then from the trap of, you say, like the flow of the ego's current, the current of the ego. That's what saved you from just getting lost in that, is that you have got some kind of spirituality or devotion to a higher ideal or something.
Pleasure seeking.
Okay.
Yeah? Yeah, the pleasure seeker. The pleasure seeker is all sorts of things, from pedophiles to people eating chocolate. That's the instincts and the ego. And that's only short-lived, and it's forever bringing suffering.
Okay, I'm interested in the current that's established, the ego current that you're talking about. There is actually a power or a magic to it, or
yeah, it's just a dynamic.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's like the womanizer. The womanizer's focusing on a woman or women all the time and all the rest of the stuff, and they find themselves in situations in bars and stuff like that where women that have some sort of sympathy. And it might mean that they're not, they just don't feel good about themselves or whatever. I don't know. It's not, you know, it's just hypothetical. But it's that sympathy. That sympathy draws them in order to do its thing. Now, if that can create a lot of suffering, but if a person knows the way, then that suffering becomes the foundation of wisdom.
So the difference then in myself is it feels different inside when I'm in a clean current versus one that's running from attachment and one of the seven deadlies kind of thing.
You would also have the issue that you've been doing this work for a long time, so the ego current constantly runs into a wall real quick, you know, like, oh, this is what I want, bang.
Yeah.
Oh, what's this saying to me? Because the greater current, the flame, is going that way. And these little ones, they're just burning up in the they get energized.
That's great. So I'd rather go any other way in the wrong direction. But
so if you guys, Stevens had the displeasure of making alchemical salt.
I'll never leave that one.
No, it's good value for me. So what you do when you make, let's say we're doing lemon balm that we've had tea, or I have anyway, tea of.
That's what it was actually.
It goes it's extracted through alcohol. There's a couple of different processes, but it's extracted, so it gets the oil, like I said, the oil and the essence out. When it's done really thoroughly, you're left with a leaf that's white parts. There's no colour or anything in it, it's just this shell. Alchemists call that the dead head. And you see alchemy things with the skeleton and crossbones and all that, and all, ooh, the devil's coming to get me, all that shit. And it's just referring to the darker type of the dead head. It's dead, it's got no life in it, and it has to be worked with. So it's set fire to. Now it's full of alcohol, so initially up it comes, and it's a real pretty fire, and you've got to keep these sort of things away from it, you know. And as it burns down, like that's like the first thing when you first have a realisation. It's like, oh wow, and then you get all excited and oh, this is huge, and then eventually when the fire dies down, is that all it is? You know, it's like, oh, this is fantastic, and then it just shrinks down. It's fuck all, and you go, what was all that about? Because that's the energy in it, you know, up it comes. And if you watch the salt, and you've got to burn it till there's nothing left that'll burn, there's all these little bits that flare up and glow really hot and get red, and, oh, I can see that. That's our attachments. Yeah, that's the things, that's like the little dows the ego wants. Well, they get, the smaller fire excites them, and it does its own process, but the greater fire, it's going somewhere else. It's just, it's exciting those so that they're transmuted.
Alright, so okay, there's two processes that are actually separate then. The
Well,
greater one and the lesser one.
Yeah, the
lesser one
ones
exists within that context.
Yeah, it's burning towards the greater, but it don't know.
So there's virtue or dharma in a lesser attachment or desire, getting excited, coming to the surface, hitting into that brick wall. You have the lesson, you realise, you move on.
But again, not everyone realises. You know, there's a difference between someone that gets the message.
Okay, or just stays trapped in the burning.
Yeah, that's right. And that's hell. So you look at the flame, it's got the two letters, you know, it goes Yod, Hey, Void. There's two Heys in it. But the above Hey is in the white light, and the below Hey is in the burning wick. Hey means life force, or life. Life above and life below. Get the idea? So, the burning hot red wick, the life below, is our model of hell. Heaven's a palace of light, which is the life above. So that part of the teaching, and remember we're in 6,000 years of Kali Yuga, which is like a degrading from truth and knowledge to pedophilia. I think it's about as low as it's got to get. It can't get much lower than that. But that's, you get the idea. So our understanding of these truths and these principles as a collective has been so degraded that we've got this concept of the devil and hell and God in his harp or whatever it is in religious bullshit is this heavenly state. The Muslims have got 21 virgins. I don't know, what have Christians got? Saint Anthony or Saint somebody with a book and all that. It's just bullshit. It's absolute madness. And it comes down from this simple teaching. There's instincts, the burning of hell, which is that part of the alchemic process. And then there's the light, which is the purpose of the burning. It's that simple. The rest is fabrication in a very dark time of consciousness. We have come a long way down from the top. But having said that, Kali Yuga means a great darkness. And it's coming to an end. And then we move into what's called Satya Yuga, which Satya means truth. Well, it's the Iron Age to the Golden Age. We're coming out of the Iron Age and we're moving into the Golden Age. But 6,000 years, dawn and dusk is a while. If you look at it like a day, it's a few hundred years, that process. So it's going to be a little while before people wake up, but it's sort of happening. I think I've said this before. Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba, as an avatar, was showing us the truth, because that's what Chacha means, of who we are, and what they call it, pronouncing the name of the aeon or the next age. Well, the word of that aeon is in the livingness of the being. Does that make sense? How they live their life and what they show, that's symbolic of, they have a sort of sacred word for each aeon. And that's what the avatars do. They demonstrate what's to come in consciousness in their being.
So is that another angle on like the Christian thing of the living word?
Yeah, well,
the word made flesh.
Yeah, the word made flesh. Yeah, but the word made flesh is
my life. Like
draw a tetragrammaton up
Baba
there.
said, my life is my message.
Yeah, that's it. That's the word exactly. That's the word. The word made flesh is tetragrammaton. It's the archetype. You know, you've seen. You know when I say tetragrammaton, you know what I mean?
I've got.
Is that palace or place?
Palace.
Palace.
There we go.
But place of birth.
That's the letters, very nicely done. That spell the mistranslation that became Jehovah. God created man and woman in his own image. Well, there you go. It's a stick man. God created man and woman in a stick man, stick person, an archetype. And that's us. And that archetype is the flame, the living flame. For the Lord thy God is a consuming fire. Get the idea? And that is the word made flesh. And that's the elemental aspect, you know. We have fiery nature, earthly nature, watery nature. Have I got it all? Anyway, 4 elements. And that's also, because that is a living dynamic, on earth we have 4 seasons. Yeah? And we have 4 yugas, or great cycles of time. The Iron Age, what's the
Bronze.
other one? Bronze, yeah. Silver and gold, the alchemic terms of the yugas. And this cycle of events goes on for bloody long time. And we are the embodiment of that. So that's got to somehow be a part of us, yeah? So the word made flesh is, we are the archetype of man. Now the archetype of man is not what we believe we are. The word or the logos, the living word, the logos, the creative principle, is our soul. It's immortal, eternal. In a lesser sense, if we think of the word made flesh, or the logos, which means the word, and Jesus is the logos, and St. John said that, you're a Christian, you should know.
The word made flesh.
Yeah. If you look at your thoughts, basically, without being pedantic, we think in words. We're talking to ourselves all the time. You say, for fuck's sake, shut up. Peace, please. But we're always doing this talking shit. And from this talking shit, we believe it. You know, someone goes, oh, you're an idiot. Long enough, you believe you're an idiot.
Oh, someone like a dog will greet you at the door like he's never seen you before and can't go for his walk because they don't think in words.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But we do.
But we do, yeah.
Yeah. So the logos, the word made flesh, is this idiot up here creating all sorts of shit that we walk out into and believe is real. So if we get hold of this idiot and make it smarter and have some sort of mastery over our thoughts, our beliefs, then it takes on a different form. Get the idea? Mm-hmm. So we don't have, and our subconscious has got all that shit, word made flesh stuff, that it's going out creating a whole heap of shit, and we're believing it to be real.
And that's what a relationship is. Someone's shit and your shit, and it compounds. And
Yeah,
it's all
you-
like all just shit.
But it can be a vehicle of realisation. Because love starts a fire.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it often burns the illusions with it. But you know, that's cool.
So if the logos, the word made flesh, is this dynamic where thoughts happen enough time or words are spoken enough time, we believe it to be real, and then acted out. Is I understood that correctly?
Yeah.
Then you're saying, so we need to have better quality thoughts, so that what we're making flesh from our words, or what's expressed in action, is a better outcome.
Hence, aleph, we've got virtues, and we're going to take the step. Well, get the idea?
The
That-
virtues are the better thoughts that we.
Yeah. We've got
in this
virtues that
context.
we aspire to,
Yeah.
and we have to take a step in order to materialise those virtues.
So in that sense, the words are here and the flesh is there.
Taking a step. Yeah,
Is
taking
the
a
taking
step.
it step.
Now, if you think about, if you just look at the tree over here, we've got these. Can you see through me there with that? If you can't, tough. Well,
You're invisible.
there we go. So we're born from this enlightened state. This is where we come into the world.
There's the pointy stick if that's
There's a pointy
that's
stick.
more fun.
We come into the world through the enlightened state. So we're all enlightened, we just forgot. And we pick up wisdom. And then we pick up understanding. And then we pick up benevolence. Then we get strength. And then we get beauty, which is not all pretty, but it's the beauty of the unfoldment of things. And then from that, we get, from those things, we're victorious. And from that, we're honourable. And if we make that the foundation of our life, our existence, it's a kingdom. Yeah? It's so simple. Isn't that a wonderful story?
Yeah.
When we return, we go in reverse, so we become honourable. And if we're honourable, we'll have true victories. We won't be doing like a bullshit in politics, but the victory is within us. You know, and every one of us, when we've done things that are honourable, we may have lost, but we've won inside, we've won a part of ourselves, eh? How simple is it? Get it? So they're our virtues. And we can take those virtues, you can give any other name for that ideology, it's irrelevant. It's just getting the idea. There's no dogma in going, it has to be this or it has to be that. It's just get the idea and take it on. So if you look in nature, there's a process. Stephen's desperate to get you in nature, and I understand why. But it's tomorrow, but the session's sort of happening this thing there. I call it the atmosphere, yeah? The Earth's got an atmosphere. And right now that atmosphere's all fucked up. It's real bad. Now, this is the Earth. That's the moon, that's the closest of the planets. So these three cards here, or paths, represent the atmosphere. Yeah? Get an idea of that?
Mm-hmm.
Now they're the three alchemic principles, salt, sulfur and mercury. And that actually spells a word. And the word's quashat. Not, you no idea what that means. But that's what Noah called the rainbow of promise at the end of the flood. Right? Of course that's the word, quashat. Probably terribly pronounced, but that's the word. So let's call this the rainbow. And the ozone layer around Earth, from what I've seen on photos, is very much like a rainbow. Yeah, get the idea? And when it rains in nature, there's a rainbow. And it says the atmosphere has changed, and it is. Yeah? Simple archetype. We can play science with it, but who gives a fuck? Keep it simple, stupid. Now that rainbow has got 7 colours that we can see. 7 deadly sins and 7 virtues. The line 7, heaven above, earth below. Get the simplicity of this ridiculous story?
Mm-hmm.
So, we've got 7 deadly sins that get washed away in the flood. The flood is the feminine, the mother, the feminine principle. The waters of deep feeling. Yeah, and if the feeling gets real deep, it can become ecstatic and cleanses all that crap away. That's what orgasm does for a moment anyway. It cleanses all that shit away until we go, oh, I've got to pick up that baggage and that baggage. Because I identify myself, I believe I'm that. But it blows it away. For a moment, it shows us there's these dynamic processes in nature and law happening throughout our lives, but we don't get the book. We've got to try and work it out. We believe all the bullshit's attached to it. We start to look at it like an archetype. So we got this atmosphere.
So that's why Kundalini is depicted as a goddess, because she's that energy.
Yeah, sensual
That
feeling.
can flush all that stuff away.
Yeah, unless we attach to it, it'll always suffer.
Mm-hmm. So is that in the terms of my question with my neck and stuff, that somehow like stuff's trying to rise, but I have attachments that's not allowing it
I would
to flow
suspect,
through?
but I wouldn't go into it looking to punish yourself, because each one of those attachments, like the salt, when it's completely burnt, that salt marries to the soul and the spirit, the sulfur and the mercury,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and becomes the perfected medicine. You become wise,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So they're not bad things. They just got to be processed.
Mm.
That creates our wisdom.
Mm.
Yeah, different way of looking at it.
Yeah.
So don't go beating yourself up. Just
No, yeah, and that makes a bit of sense actually in terms of needing time to process.
so if we consider these 3 principles, right? Let's say feeling, thought, belief.
Mm-hmm.
That's a triangle. So we believe something, we have feelings about it, and we have thoughts about it. Now I said before, a triangle is used in magic to contain the evoked spirit. So in relationship to our beliefs, our feelings and thoughts about something, that in itself attracts or contains a spirit. Now, rather than think about some gibbly-gobbly, let's look at about it, the spirit we go about doing shit without getting lost in demons and stuff. Does that make sense? The spirit you do things, the spirit things happen. Like I do things in a good spirit or whatever. That's simple. What we believe, what we feel, and what we think contains our world, the way we go about it. You just go with feeling, thought, and belief, you're actually understanding those principles without all that words and all that stuff. Because a lot of people understand all and studied all that, but haven't connected to the simplicity. So it's fucking useless. It's a dogma that keeps you imprisoned. It's a belief.
Mm.
Yeah. So, how you feel about things, how you think about them, and what you believe is vital to be questioned. Don't make any value judgment on any of it. It's good, it's bad, or it just is what it is. And if you want to make adjustment, make adjustment.
Was this atmosphere, did you say?
That's atmosphere. It goes around the earth. Now that atmosphere in earth, when it's healthy and vibrant, if there's a heavenly body coming in, it burns up, doesn't it? Unless it's real big, but in general, it comes into the earth's atmosphere, it burns up, before it gets to Earth. So if we're the same, and someone's projecting shit, and we've got the right atmosphere, healthy, vibrant atmosphere, burns up. Unless they actually punch you, like a big asteroid, it burns up. So the projections and stuff through via sympathy that comes to you just burns up and it's gone skis. Does that make sense?
And that's if you deal with your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs.
Well, yeah, that's what creates your atmosphere.
Creates the atmosphere.
So if you've got a real shitty atmosphere,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, you're really depressed, and I come along and go, oh, for God's sake, you know, you're a dead shit. Then you just move on. Because you're open to that. And the sympathy drags it in.
Okay, this relates. Sorry, Ron. This relates then. You said how, like, having holes in your aura because, let's say it's blame or you don't take responsibility, then it's
Shitty atmosphere.
you break your container,
Exactly.
and then all that stuff can get in, and that comes from these.
Now, in nature, there's this wonderful dynamic when nature produces plants. All other creatures come from that, yeah? And those plants produce oxygen. And they transmute carbon dioxide to oxygen. That's alchemy. That's fucking brilliant. We wouldn't be here if it didn't do that. Yeah? So there's a point where trees change one thing to another. And in so doing, everyone prospers. It's very benevolent. It's compassionate. Yeah? What a wondrous thing. Compost. Compost, if you get a big pile of grass and it's there for a while, put your hand out, it's hot. Can even catch fire. Yeah? Fire transmutes. Yeah? And in that process of death and decay and all the things we're scared of, bacteria and creepy crawlies and are all in that process. There's the underworld, all the bacteria and the bugs, yeah? And there's the dead matter dying, all that horrible stuff. And there's this fire in the body of things as it corrupts. Yeah? And it's transmuting. And from that transmutation, that fire comes new life. The process is self-perpetuating. How amazing. We live in that. You know, I pile grass on top of grass when I mow the lawn and go, oh, look at that. And there's this wonderful, alchemy doesn't exist, it's bullshit. Huh? We live in this happening, we do that. When we have shit that corrupts inside us, it goes down, and then it can turn around and change. But we're conscious. Yeah? So we have to consciously participate. We have to consciously transmute it. Yeah?
So is that when somebody, the difference when someone survives cancer and someone doesn't, the person who has taken some kind of, what's the word? Responsibility and
That
done
certainly
some
helps.
changes in their life, made some changes maybe, and the other person didn't.
It certainly helps, but we have to take into consideration that in today's world, as opposed to when I was a boy, we're living in a toxic dump. And that toxic dump, like when I was young, I'm an old fart now, when I was young, hardly never even heard of cancer. Now, we all get a chance. Look, our food's full of pesticides. Our air's full of aluminium and God knows what else. We're being programmed that we're a piece of shit or whatever, farmed. We're getting vaccinated. It goes on and on. Well, for God's sake. It's not harmonic. Now, if a flame turns what it burns to light or wisdom, that's what we do. We take that flame, that burning, and we turn it into light. Because that's the process. So, how do we turn it into light? What's the flame say? Higher ideals. Draw the line. And then get in touch with who drew the line. And you'll truly become wise. And you'll be in harmony with nature. Now, if we all understood that, we wouldn't be ripping nature apart for profit, because we all profit.
Mm.
Now, nature's the woman. And the collective society is raping the woman constantly.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. There's no difference. We just think there's difference. Get the idea?
Mm.
In understanding things this way, we're connected. You know, the air's polluted. The air's the element earth, our element air, our thinkings. Well, our thoughts can't be too good if we're doing that to the earth, to the air. The earth is barren and in drought. Yeah. What are we doing? Where are we at there? Our actions are, because earth is action, it's barren, it's drought, there's nothing in it, what we're doing.
And then other parts of the world, they're having floods like they've never had before. Till
Stop spraying the shit out of us, then it stopped, but still.
so then, do you see something like social movement, like the like women becoming more vocal in speaking out against sexual violence or oppression to women, or in
Well,
whatever
if they don't
form?
get fucked.
But do you see that as synonymous with like the environmental movement, or like?
Look, things tend to go to extreme, right? Where when it gets to extreme, the worst of things come out. And then it finds its medium. Yeah. But I did a chart a long, long time ago that had the ages. And it goes from light to darkness, from darkness to light, or light in darkness, darkness in light. And one of these cycles is when it's, patriarchal and matriarchal comes to the problem. So before this cycle, it was a matriarchal cycle. Yeah. Now, I dare say women fucked up then as men have fucked up now, because it's composting. And from the compost comes a new light, the new life, the new expression of consciousness. While we're in this right now, it's not very pleasant because we take it personally. But on a grander scale, this dynamic of compost is continually happening.
So we're in the mother of all kind of compost heaps at the moment.
Oh, we're right in the middle of the shit.
and so the potential for a lot of new growth or new life potentially to come out of that.
Yeah, enormous. But, you know, it's a
But on a
dead,
big,
decaying...
on a big scale.
Yes, society, as we know it, is a dead, composting body. You know, it's the attitudes of man are maggots. You know, it's foul, it's horrid. But there's this fire too. Yeah? Satchers rising. Now that's a figure eight, or a Boris, certain body and style. And it's that crossover point where it's all at. It's that point of transmutation where one thing turns into another that's the relevant part. You get the idea? That's where the spiritual fire, the fire of transmutation exists. That one point, that's the person who draws the line. That's consistent. It's that composting fire. For the Lord your God is a consuming fire. that's consistent. That's where all the growth, that's where all the supposed evil is digested and transforms into wonderful plants that branch out and become benevolent and support all life, all creatures. That's that point. That's the line drawer. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
So the line drawer in the figure 8, that's the middle point.
That's the
Where
line
it
drawer.
crosses over from one to the other.
Yeah.
So you know how, and that is a bit of a cross. So does that kind of match with Jesus being on the cross?
Jesus being on the cross had a few meanings. One, it's the cross of matter, yeah? But being the crucifix cross, basically there it is there. Or it can even be here, at various levels. Here it's got I-N-R-I. What's it, I can't pronounce it, but it was supposed to mean Jesus Christ, King of the Jews. You believe that shit? It's Latin, and it means by fire, nature is renewed. I can't say it in Latin, you'll have to look it up, but that's what it means. Ignata, renovata. Bullshit, yeah.
Igne natura?
Something like that.
Renovata
Something like that.
integra.
Yeah, nature is completely renewed by fire. Which fire? We just spoke about it. Yeah? Now the energy is a spiritual fire. It's the letter shin. Shh. Yeah? Fire makes that sound. That's the spiritual fire. Same thing. It's that point where one thing turns into something else. Where the good grows out of what we'd assume was bad. So from that viewpoint, there is no evil, there is no good, there is no bad, there is process.